Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Strategy in Practice, Creating Value with Citrix Cloud. My name is Kahini Chandriani, and I will be your host for today's presentation. Our featured speaker for today is Aniruddha Takle, a Senior Principal Strategic Business Advisory at Citrix. Before we get started, let me cover a couple of housekeeping details. We will have a dedicated question and answer session at the end of today's presentation, and invite you to submit your questions at any time during the presentation using the Ask a Question window in the webinar interface. Also, this event is being recorded and a link to the on-demand version will be sent to everyone in a follow-up email. With that, I will now hand it over to Aniruddha to start the presentation. Welcome and thank you for joining.
Thank you. Greetings from Citrix. I'm here today to speak to you about how customers across industries are creating value with the move to the Citrix Cloud. We will discuss in brief the digital disruption and transformation that's taking place in the marketplace today, and how customers, with the move to the cloud, are accelerating benefits and getting value from the investments in the Citrix platform. Before we begin, I would just like to, for a better understanding of the flow of the discussion, it'll be essentially into two segments. We will begin with discussing of the time and the criticality of the inflection point that the industry is in the digital transformation process and journey, the why now, which will be then followed by discussing why Citrix is the obvious partner of choice, given its unique position in the industry with its mature production-proven enterprise platform to assist customers on the digital transformation process and journey. So let's begin. So today, in the digital transformation that's occurring in the marketplace, there is a lot of disruptive business models that are coming out and challenging the status quo across various industries, and we see it all around us. It is no longer true that companies can be secure in the size of their operations and can outlive competitors. Over and over across different industries, we've seen smaller enterprises or large enterprises with new business models have completely disrupted the go-to-market strategies of various companies. For example, Uber coming out has changed and transformed the entire transportation segment, or for instance, in the music industry, Apple Music and Spotify, and then there's many other examples across healthcare, retail, banking, manufacturing, and so on and so forth. The second trend that we see occurring in the marketplace is what I term as personalization or consumerization of products and services. Today, customers are looking to have a very personal customer experience, and they would like all products and services that they subscribe to give them a very personal touch, be it products like cars or services in banking, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth. If you look at the setup that we have, the industry setup, most organizations are set up to produce in volumes to be more cost effective in a mass production environment. For them to pivot now suddenly to be able to provide a unique, personalized experience of the products and services is a huge challenge. And that is why this transformation, digital transformation that we're speaking to today, and the leveraging cloud platform to essentially assist and accelerate the benefits and value to customers as well as their organizations is what we're going to speak to today. If you look at some of the data that's out there in the industry, about 50% of the CXOs across various industries are really concerned about the competition that's coming at them from different angles and the disruption that's causing in the marketplace. Only about 25% of the businesses are truly on their way or executing some digital strategies for digital transformation. Another data which is very interesting to see, over the next decade, 40% of current Fortune 500 companies either will transform themselves or will no longer exist or cease to exist the way they are. These are some remarkable data statistics that talk to the transformation that's happening around us. Most people, when they started on the journey of digital transformation, Industry 4.0, thought of digitization and digital transformation as just taking the current business process or paper operations and digitizing them using some computer technologies. However, they have come to understand that digital transformation is something very fundamental and foundational in the change that they need to go through and how an organization delivers values to its customers. Digital transformation essentially is taken to create new business models, new revenue streams, and to adhere to customer expectations that are changing constantly in the marketplace. Today, if you look at it, in just 2019, the total technology spend on cloud and digital transformation was close to $2 trillion. That's about 40% of the spend on technology. And that is a huge number, and that's just going to go ahead and increase and not be stagnant or decrease. So that tells you to the scope or the real disruption and the inflection point of why now for customers to think about the move to the cloud and start generating value. Cloud solutions or the move to the cloud are fundamental. Our cloud-first mindset is getting imbibed in the industry because customers realize and organizations have come to the conclusions by and by that without the cloud, it's very, very, very difficult for them to transform the current state into the 2B state or being able to serve and be profitable to their customers. CIOs and IT are no longer looked at support functions. They are looked towards by the CXOs in the organization and lines of businesses to be someone to assist in this transformation and innovation process. Cloud platforms are the natural enabler of some niche technologies that are coming out in the marketplace, such as Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, machine learning, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of industry-specific use cases, be it in manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and so on and so forth, that have leveraged these niche technologies on a cloud platform to derive fundamental business benefits for these customers. CIOs are looking, and the new titles that we see across, and chief digital officers are looking at cloud operations or move to the cloud to do two things. One is to drive innovation with new technologies, as well as to take the routine, non-value add, autonomous operations to be automated. A SaaS-first mindset is what's seen in the marketplace to have a low-cost infrastructure and drive high-value development of services. Lines of businesses in various organizations have started to deploy what we call shadow IT because their need is so quick and urgent and immediate right now that they cannot expect to wait for the traditional IT organizations to transform themselves, and that is the urgency that they see. 74% of the IT leaders, based on studies and data, believe that digital transformation essentially requires a perpetual fundamental shift and a constant adaptation of new technology. And that is why the move to the cloud, Citrix Cloud, is a perfect platform to go forward, because it's no longer an event, but it's a continuous process of change and transformation that's taking place. And that needs to be adhered to as we move to the cloud. When we talk about move to the cloud or transforming your business, it's very clear that change is something that is very hard to do and achieve. So therefore, the move to cloud has to be very thoughtful, methodical, and a flexible approach. And that's what Citrix Cloud allows you to do for most customers, to de-risk the change, but get the maximum benefits out of it. There are various flavors of cloud. You have public cloud, you have private cloud, and you have hybrid cloud. Let's look at some of the numbers to understand what's happening in the industry and why it's urgent and immediate for customers to move to the cloud at this inflection point. Worldwide, the cloud spend in just second quarter of 2019 was close to $26 billion. That's about a 37% year-over-year increase, which are significant numbers. If you look at cloud infrastructure services, in just the second quarter of 2019, they were over or close to $7 billion, again, a big number. This was because of the move to the cloud acceleration. On an average, most organizations have about 4 to 5 different cloud infrastructures already deployed, which is remarkable between public, private, and hybrid. Over 28% and increasing number of organizations day by day are moving to hybrid cloud and not just public or private cloud in a mixed approach. And we shall see in the next slide or two why that is the case. So now we come to why Citrix. We have just laid out the reason why a move to the cloud makes a whole lot of business sense and why customers are moving there. But why is Citrix uniquely positioned to assist customers in this transformation process and journey? 9 out of 10 top CIOs have already confirmed that they're going to move to the cloud. It's probably not surprising to you that 90% of companies are using public cloud solutions with an average of about 4 to 5 cloud apps already deployed. It's projected that 52% of workloads will be in the cloud by 2020. Citrix, as a company, over the past 3+ decades, has had a very diversified and a consistent approach in terms of investing in R&D and delivering a transformative enterprise platform to the marketplace, which has driven a lot of benefits to our customers. Over 500,000 more customers across various industries have been using our various technologies, be it in networking, be it in virtual apps or virtual desktops, which are production-proven and time-tested to take their business to the next level. In the move to the cloud, Citrix is not just looking at providing and taking the current existing on-premise solutions and porting them to the cloud, but have come out with a new enterprise solution called Citrix Digital Workspace, with the goal essentially to reduce the risk of transformation for customers and to accelerate and drive faster business benefits to the customers that are deploying these solutions. Numerous customers have reaped these benefits in the past and are moving to the cloud in an accelerated manner. Citrix Digital Workspace enterprise platform has taken all these various time-tested, production-proven products that customers are already used to and deriving value and combined them into a single unique interface that drives faster business value, lowers the risk, and allows flexibility towards the move to the cloud, which de-risks the change process that we just discussed. Let's look at some of the analyst reports and studies conducted for 2019 and 20, just a single year. The approximation is about $150 to $200 billion will be invested in this market globally. Citrix approach to the cloud allows customers to deliver with one single investment into the enterprise digital workspace platform to derive benefits around experience, security, and choice for their customers, as well as the internal employees who get a single pane of window for them to use to do their day-to-day activities, thereby driving productivity and efficiency, as well as allows IT organizations to be able to administer various security administrative features, along with a lot of analytics that provides automatic feedback to IT to run this enterprise solution to drive business benefits across the organization. Now let's look at some of the trends that are happening in the digital transformation, including the current impact of the pandemic of COVID-19. While we have discussed up till now the digital transformation evolution and acceleration of benefits provided by the move to the cloud, let's now look at various trends that impact and including recent situations because of remote work. Over 75% customers are moving to a hybrid cloud approach. When COVID struck, customers requested Citrix to assist them in ensuring business continuity, which Citrix served all the customers and new customers in ensuring that the business is continued and there was business continuity. Once we have now gone past the immediate and urgent, our customers are looking to us as a Citrix platform to now take them to the next level in this digital transformation process around employee, customer experience, security, and choice that have become front and center to drive business benefits to our customers in the various industries that they use our platforms. So why Citrix for digital transformation? As I mentioned, Citrix solutions are not something new. They have been around. They have been time-tested and production-proven in various spheres, including networking, in virtualization, VDI, and various security services with a zero trust policy. Citrix also has a huge differentiator beyond just number of solutions while being on-premise. But these Citrix solutions are not some distant esoteric solution sitting in a data center or managing some data, but these are actual solutions that employees and customers get to use every day as they interact with their products and services that they buy from Citrix customers, as well as Citrix customer employees that use these solutions to perform the tasks. So it's a very personal experience and employee experience, unlike other solutions and enterprise platforms that exist in the marketplace. Citrix is now taking this to the next level by unifying all these different solutions. Not only are we taking them to the cloud, but we're doing it in such a way that it's into a single platform, a single window, which derives multiple functionality benefits as well as business benefits by organizing, guiding, and automating in the Citrix Digital Workspace. Furthermore, it simplifies the IT technology infrastructure for IT as an organization to be an enabler of business goals, strategic objectives, and operational initiatives versus just serving our technology for the organization. Workspace services that come, Citrix Cloud Services, are a critical component of customers who move to the cloud for the simple reason that allows customers to focus on what's important for their business and let Citrix worry about ensuring a smooth move to the cloud and ongoing efficiencies that we can drive with the move to the cloud. Citrix Cloud offers distinct benefits over an on-premise approach. So all customers of Citrix solutions today on on-premise need to look at these distinct benefits that drive a huge impact and a competitive edge for them. It improves significantly your business workflows, reducing a non-value-add work, enabling adoption of new technologies like we discussed, business intelligence, artificial intelligence, machine learning, rapid prototyping, 3D printing, and so on and so forth. It unifies all your different technologies with a single purpose of driving and administering efficiently a productivity platform that allows you to garner huge benefits. It allows a very secure zero trust approach with the same platform, but with the difference being that it does not obstruct day-to-day operations by making security so overbearing, but it makes it user-friendly and therefore users to be productive and faster with Citrix, managing the integration and deployment of the Citrix enterprise platform. Let's look at what the impact of Citrix Digital Workspace that employees and organizations and customers are reaping from. Today, in today's marketplace, talent retention, talent attraction is a huge need of the hour. Without talented employees, most businesses and organizations are feeling that impact. So even a 1% turnover on employees is impacting hugely, as you can see, be it in productivity or actual profit margins of businesses. Business agility is also dependent on this aspect of employee and customer experience. Most importantly, technology is meant for business goals and not the other way around. So technology has to be something simple, easy to use, deployable, efficient, and that is exactly what Citrix Digital Workspace does. It organizes, it guides, and automates, thereby driving significant reductions, close to 50% in securing data, over 60% in reducing time for searching for disparate data in different silos of enterprise apps and inside systems, improves employee and customer experience by over 20%, reduce by guiding and automating 40% of the work that most employees today do by having to sign into different systems multiple times and to transport and translate data over, improves productivity by over 10%. And these are metrics that customers are seeing in the day-to-day business and reaping the rewards and benefits from the Citrix Digital Workspace on the cloud platform with Citrix Cloud Services. Let's look at Citrix Workspace and how it transforms the employee customer experience and the entire enterprise for the customer. It does so by taking your entire work and unifying it in a single window, securing it, providing you a very personalized experience, removing the complexity by guiding you through your workday and work processes, avoiding distractions that you see employees get into, which actually drops and impacts productivity and efficiency, surprising to a large extent. But these are soft benefits that most customers don't realize, but they will see and capture these as they move to the cloud with Citrix and Citrix Digital Workspace. Most importantly, it automates and streamlines mundane tasks so that the distractions to employees are reduced, and therefore employees are focused on delivering maximum value to their organizations and stay focused on what's important for their business. If you look at the window on the right, this is how a Citrix Digital Workspace, when you sign in as an employee, will look at all your necessary documentation, documents, apps, desktops, feeds from micro apps coming in from various enterprise applications, be it your HR systems, expense systems, ERP systems, all into your single window, which will guide you to actually take actions versus trying to search and find data or translate and convert data into a format that you can actually process and use. There's a lot of artificial intelligence, which then guides you towards taking those actions and automates a lot of these workflows that day-to-day organizations have to look at and employees have to scale to drive these benefits. So this is how it's actually going to take you to a single cockpit when you sign into your day-to-day work versus having to look at 16 different applications, be it Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, ERP, HR systems, and then trying to make some sense out of it as you go by your day. If you look at certain features when we talk about migration to cloud, Citrix has invested into stuff like Autoscale. Autoscale is a cloud agnostic technology that Citrix provides our customers when they move to the cloud, which is a huge benefit, monetary benefit, because what it does is it allows you to get machines up and running during peak times or schedule them by a weekly schedule, thereby allowing customers only to pay for what they actually use versus going onto a public cloud platform or a private platform and having machines up and running when there is no peak loads on them. So this is a small, in numerous myriad of ways that Citrix is driving while the move to the cloud happens, business benefits, cost benefits to our customers. Biggest thing Citrix as an organization believes is to drive low-risk transformation process for our customers. Therefore, the slide talks about walk, jog, and run. So you take your current today's on-premise deployment, you look at how you're going to move that environment in the least disruptive, low-risk manner towards the to-be status on the cloud. And it's going to be in hybrid cloud, public cloud, private cloud. You look at all these options versus doing a big bang approach of moving everything to the cloud all at once with a high risk, and then finding out various issues that dog you down. That's the approach that Citrix recommends as we move forward in the journey to the cloud. Simplifying technology, we spoke about this earlier, but when I talk about single pane of window, so that was for the employee, but this, if you look at it in this way, this is also for the IT department who administer all these enterprise platforms on the cloud. It allows them to get various kind of analytics into that single pane based, whether it's regarding the security, whether it's regarding network, transferring network bandwidth based on usage, allows for employees to be onboarded quickly and make them more productive faster. It allows security to be based on user profiles versus being an overcoming, all-encompassing, obstructive, because security is very essential. However, it needs to be tailored to be driving productivity for customers. So all these benefits are also available to the IT department who's actually going to go and deploy these technologies for their organizations. So the benefits are for users, for the IT, for lines of businesses, and overall driving business benefits, which is the most critical thing for most customers. Let's look at Citrix Digital Workspace on the cloud and the cloud services. If you look at this graphic here, it essentially talks about a single place where all functions of your business will come into, be it HR, be it marketing, be it sales, be it your facilities, manufacturing, distribution centers, your retail outlets, hospitals, different functions will all come into the single workspace and use different views of the same workspace to do their tasks, which allows you to capture a lot of knowledge and efficiency for the entire organization to have a knowledge-driven organization by capturing the best practices and templates as we go forward, which is a huge driver for efficiency and business benefits, both on the top line and the bottom line. This essentially is how Citrix unifies the entire organization into an enterprise single approach. When we talk to our customers of moving to the cloud, the biggest thing in our mind is to ensure that the customer's business is not impacted negatively, risk is reduced. Therefore, we have come up with a lot of automated configuration tools that rapidly migrate the current apps and desktop, which are on-premise, to the cloud with little or no impact to the end users or business operations that are ongoing. This is very critical, and Citrix as a company has always looked at this as a critical process on the move to the cloud. Therefore, you're in safe hands when you go to cloud with Citrix Cloud and Citrix Cloud Services, because Citrix takes care of all the things in the back end, allows you to focus on what's more important to your business. Now let's go back to the very beginning of this discussion and understand why our customers go through the digital transformation and why our customers move to the cloud. It essentially is about business benefits, not for the technology that's coming out in the marketplace. Having said that, it's also critical to ensure that this move to the cloud is quick, it's least risk or low risk, it's painless from a business operation perspective, and allows business to grow profitably as they move forward. The value impact is critical to look at. In the old days, the value derived from technology was looked at in a very binary manner, in the sense it's a 0 or 1, some gain. Hard benefits or soft benefits. But in today's digital transformation process and journey that we just discussed and the move to the cloud, it is not so wide binary in terms of 0 and 1. We have a lot of impact on cost, by reducing your physical infrastructure, desktops, apps, networking, data centers, disaster recovery. But there's a massive more impact in what I call and term as soft to business critical benefits. And these soft to critical business benefits are going to determine the future of the organization as they compete in this marketplace, which is being very disruptive in terms of the new entrants and competition that's coming. What are those soft to business critical benefits that I talk about? Are essentially in terms of attracting talent, retaining talent, giving an employee a better experience so you can have less turnover, allowing your customers to experience a very personalized experience to your products or services, ensuring that the customer and employees have a choice in how they interact with you as a business, but all this to be done in a very secure manner, allowing onboarding of employees in a quick, efficient manner, and most important, allowing innovation and different business models that can drive your business to the next level. These are benefits that in the old days were termed as soft benefits, but they are more and more becoming more hard benefits than soft benefits. And it's not about all quantifying to the last dollar and cents. What are the savings when you compare the move to the cloud versus staying on premise? These are not about hardware savings and costs, but these are the differences or efficiencies that will drive your business to the next level and determine where it remains valid and survives the disruption that's ongoing in the marketplace. It allows you to be more competitive and expand into newer business and revenue models. The move to the cloud, how do you measure that in terms of benefits? There are various measures that I just shared with you, but it is a wrong way to look at this in terms of how many more bodies can I push to solve a problem, or look at technology in terms of just adding more people to the problem. But you need to look at both the top line and the bottom line impact per employee, and then look at it from an overall business perspective, both from strategic as well as tactical operation, to understand the actual impact that the move to the cloud from an on-premise environment is going to drive and create a competitive differentiator for your own business. The move to the cloud is a business imperative and a business impact, not an IT or a technology cost, which is a big thing. I will let that sink in. An investment in a move to the cloud with Citrix and Citrix Cloud and Citrix Cloud Services is not an IT investment. It is a business investment to grow your business to the next level. Therefore, it's imperative for customers to engage with Citrix, to qualify, to quantify, to identify the areas of driving benefits to their businesses, not look at just from an IT perspective and look at hardware savings or software savings, which is typically how customers have looked at in this problem, but look at the soft to hard benefits which impact their overall business effectivity, efficiency, and staying relevant in their marketplace. The customers need to engage Citrix Strategic Advisory and Value Engineering Services along with Citrix Services to identify, define value areas, quantify as many as we can, qualify them into these value areas, establish and define a target community or a value area, go through a pilot process, evaluate that, tweak it, and then get into a production environment. We are here as Citrix in various forms of Citrix Services, Citrix Value Engineering, design thinking to assist our customers in ensuring that their journey to the cloud is efficient, low risk, productive, and driving actual business benefits to their businesses. I thank you for the time taken today.
Thank you. Now it's time to start our Q&A sessions. So with Aniruddha, we also have Ryan McClure who runs our customer success engineering team globally. He was in consulting for 8 years prior, and he ran our enterprise architecture team in the Central and US Canada for a couple of those 8 years. He's been with Citrix 9 years total and is based in Chicago. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Just a quick reminder, everyone, if you have any questions, please type your question in the Ask a Question window in the webinar interface. Looks like we already have few, which I will start addressing. So just to answer our first question, this event was recorded and a link to the on-demand version will be sent to everyone in a follow-up email. The next question which I'd like to address is, what percentage of the Citrix customer have moved to the Citrix Cloud at this point? Ryan, Ani?
I don't remember it as a percentage of customers, but for example, we have over 1.1 million users active on the app and desktop service alone, including more than a few customers at tens of thousands of users of scale. So if the core of that question is, is it being done at meaningful size and scale in enterprise, that answer is certainly yes at this point. But as a percentage of customers, I'm not sure I trust my memory enough to cite that number.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Moving on to the next one, please elaborate on what you refer to as choice to customers and employees. I think this is for you, Ani.
Hi, thanks for the question. So what I mean or refer to as choice, choice in terms of how customers buy their products and services, or how engage with businesses. Customers prefer to do it in a myriad of ways, whether it's physical stores, physical service, or through virtual or a mixture of both in the virtual world. Some people like to use apps, some will use websites, some would like to do it from phones, iPads, so on and so forth. So the choice is in terms of interacting with businesses and to do the buyer's journey in terms of selection of products and services. Choice in terms of employees, with the same people, cross-section of people, when they come in, they expect the same experience when they go to work at a company or an organization, and they would like to essentially have choice of interacting and doing their work when they go to the workplace. So they would also like similar choices because they're used to efficiency and ease of use and user experience that they get in their personal lives. So that's what I refer to as choice, and that's becoming very critical as discussed in the presentation in terms of employee attraction, talent retention, which is going to be what I call the soft to hard benefits, which is going to determine your competitive edge as you move forward. It's no longer only going to be based on cost and hardware estimates. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We do have another question from the audience. What are some of the biggest hurdles you see with companies migrating to the Citrix Cloud?
Yeah, I can take that one. It's a good question. So, I think that there are a couple of different kind of themes or trends, that maybe crop up more frequently in certain industries or others. One of them, I think, is certainly operational in nature. So consuming cloud services is just a little bit of a different beast than, operating these things wholly on-prem, where you've got total autonomy over the way that, every change event is operated and so on. So, this is a cloud service. It's maintained dynamically to stay evergreen and make sure that customers get the benefit of access to the latest and greatest capabilities. Certainly, we return some of that control to the customer with things like time of day and week connector updates, so you have some control over when those things go into your environment. But operationally, I would say it's certainly an adjustment here and there for customers. And then the other one is actually, I think, maybe a little bit of trying to boil the ocean or biting off more than they can chew. So they're trying to do, an OS upgrade, a move to a new data center or public cloud, the upgrade or transition to Citrix Cloud, across all services all at once. I think the customers that see the most success are approaching it incrementally. They're placing focus on kind of the core service that delivers value to their business, something like the app and desktop service or endpoint management, and really staying laser focused there. Or they're even starting smaller with maybe one of the services like WEM or license insights or analytics, hooking that into their existing on-prem footprint and then transitioning pieces. Carving up by use case or department is another example of a way to kind of keep things a little bit more bite-sized, just to kind of keep that transition moving ahead, continuing to learn the lessons, and managing risk along the way. So I would say that those are probably two of the more common hurdles that we're seeing from a thematic perspective, kind of regardless of industry.
Okay, and I know there was a follow-up question to that. So I'm not sure if, Ryan, you want to elaborate if there are any particular use cases or scenarios that are not a good fit for the Citrix Cloud.
Yeah, that's a pretty broad one, actually. So, I would say that there are definitely certain unique compliance conditions that are more difficult to address, not just with Citrix Cloud, but with cloud providers as a whole. So, if you've got certain industry regulations, things like HIPAA considerations or PCI considerations, the guidance around those can be a little bit more stringent, and those require some additional care and feeding, trying to execute with a cloud model as opposed to starting with perhaps a use case that's a little bit less regulated. So, if you've got the option on where to start, you're going to see a quicker time to value if maybe you start with one of those use cases that has a little bit of less of that compliance and regulation around it.
I just want to add to what Ryan said in terms of the hurdles. It's also a mindset hurdle that we see. Customers need to realize that move to the cloud is a very different way of doing business, strategically and operationally. So to compare an on-premise as business as usual environment in terms of the value benefits versus the move to the cloud and the imperative to move to the cloud, it's a whole different thing. And as like we discussed in the presentation, more and more people and more businesses are moving to the cloud, and not just because of technology, but it's more from a business competitiveness perspective. So if you keep these two in perspective, I think the value that you're going to get or the necessity of move to the cloud will be more clear beyond just the technical aspects of it. Just wanted to add that there. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ani. Next question, which we have is, can you talk a bit more about that automated configuration tool? I haven't been heard of that before. Is it something new, and does it move workloads? How does the Citrix configuration help with risk? Ryan, would you like to take that one up?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a newer tool. It hit public tech preview, I want to say 2-3 weeks ago now. My team's been working with customers, even prior to that in some pre-production capacity, doing some initial migration testing and whatnot. So yeah, it is a newer tool. One of the really cool things about the tool is its primary application is to take those Citrix site level configurations and move them from an existing on-prem environment to the cloud service with significantly less administrator work effort than without the tool. So you think about some of these common, more complex environments out there that have tens of catalogs and delivery groups, dozens of policies, hundreds of applications. Being able to automate the transition of those configurations from on-prem to cloud certainly helps with timelines appreciably. And it doesn't mean like I've run the tool and now my users are migrated over. It's focused on the configs, and then you can transition your users or the actual workloads kind of at your own rate and pace. But one of the other really cool elements about the tool is it's not just kind of a one and done where I use it to move from on-prem to cloud and that's it. You can use it to promote configurations from pre-prod to prod. If you've got multiple instances for some reason, you can use it to keep those multiple instances in line. You can export your configurations so that you've got that kind of known good state backup, so that if something goes wrong, you apply a change and you just can't figure out how to troubleshoot it, you can revert to that known good state and hopefully it resolves your issue. So it has applications beyond just that kind of one-time migration from on-prem to cloud. It is focused on those Citrix configs as opposed to the workloads. We're seeing on the workload side that often if we're talking about moving from an on-prem hypervisor to Azure or GCP, for example, that that customers are often talking about a new image, maybe a new operating system, a new department or use case. So they've got reasons to be working on the image in the first place. So for that reason, the tool right now is really focused on the Citrix side of the configs. And then the last part of the question, I think, is really important. How does it help with risk? So, when you're doing an upgrade of an on-prem environment, there is that momentary, window where you hit next, finish, and it goes through the back-end component updates, and there's a momentary brokering interruption where the environment's actually in a non-working state for a period, and then it comes back live, and users are able to continue working. And that period does have some risk associated with it. If you were to do this kind of migration path, you can take the configs from that same on-prem environment, apply them to the cloud service without a huge amount of admin effort, and now you have these two environments running in parallel. You can make them appear as a single environment to the end user, and you don't have that momentary interruption or that same risk period. And if everything goes well, you've made the transition over to app and desktop service, you can just decommission the environment that you were going to upgrade away from. So it's just a different approach. For example, for those customers that were planning to upgrade from 7.15 to 19.12, so LTSR 2 to LTSR 3, give a look to the cloud option. It may be right for you. It may be a very similar amount of work effort, and you may determine that it's a little bit more risk-averse approach. There may also be customers where staying on-prem and going with 19.12 is a fit.
Thank you, Ryan. Ani, I think the next question is addressed to you. What are the different value categories that are impacted by the move to the cloud with Workspace?
Thank you. So when you look at the value that a move to Citrix Cloud, Citrix Services is going to get you, if you have to start thinking holistically as a business value to the overall business, not just to IT. And so when you categorize those value categories, it's easy to look at it from the top line impact and a bottom line impact. So if you look at the bottom line, it's pretty obvious in terms of cost reductions and risk reductions. And if you look at the top line impact, you're looking at any revenue growth opportunities that you can do, any strategic growth. And strategic growth, we'll talk about mergers and acquisitions, new business models like we discussed that can enhance revenue streams for you. If you look at revenue streams or revenue growth, you can look at different productivity, efficiency, non-value add reduction categories. Risk reduction gets into how do we approach security. Security is very, very critical, very important, whether it's on-premise or on cloud, but you don't want to have security so cumbersome that it impacts efficiency, productivity, and experience for customers and employees to do their jobs and get about doing their business. So the zero trust approach with Citrix Cloud essentially reduces that risk, as well as then looking at the obvious cost impacts over the long run. But again, I will keep reiterating that overall value is what customers need to look at as elaborated during the discussion and presentation. And that's when they're going to will be able to decide whether a move to the cloud makes sense or not. And more as they look at the overall perspective, I'm sure they will come to the conclusions like most customers are doing at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ani. We have another one from the audience. This can be addressed to both either you or Ani, you or Ryan. In an enterprise environment where published desktops and applications are widely used along with thin client, what are the benefits of moving to the cloud? And one of the note is currently moving storefront and delivery controllers to the cloud does not justify the cost increase.
Yeah, sure. So I can jump in on that one. So yeah, certainly more than a couple of our customers are in this scenario where they've been, app and desktop customers for a long time. Maybe they've got a big part of their use case thin clients. They might have a different type of endpoint. And they're looking at, okay, what does the app and desktop service do relative to what I'm doing with my on-prem environment today? So certainly moving storefront and the delivery controllers to the cloud service, you're offloading, let's say, 4 VMs. You're also offloading the administrative overhead associated with those components so that your admins can, maybe return that time to focusing on user experience and business value But in addition to that, you're getting rid of the SQL database, so you don't have to deal with the high availability costs associated with that. I think you're also starting to then put yourself in kind of a future-proofing state where, if there are requirements to become more agile and stand up a new resource location in the public cloud, a new data center, move to a different colo, whatever it is, the infrastructure overhead associated with each of those new locations or the need to adapt to that new demand is significantly lower than with the conventional on-prem architecture. Thin client vendors are also, doing a pretty solid job keeping up with the workspace app side of things as opposed to receiver, so you can make use of that new workspace experience and give users that kind of single aggregated view of their files, their web and SaaS applications, micro apps, so essentially presenting the most common parts that they use out of the SaaS application in a more simple and digestible way, and also their app and desktop, all in that kind of single look and feel pane of glass, which should have some productivity returns in terms of the user's ability to context switch and most dynamically surfacing their most relevant pieces of work. Outside of that, you're going to get some additional visibility on the analytics side, for example, that has some significant value on the cloud side. So all of those things in combination, I think, start to add up in terms of the overall value prop of making the move to cloud, particularly as the work effort to do so starts to come down with things like the automated configuration tool. So, those are a lot of the reasons that we're seeing customers make the effort to make the transition. It's a combination of the user experience, the features and capabilities, and so on. One of the other things that we're seeing, particularly related to kind of the global health environment that we're in today, is how can some of those new capabilities offset costs from existing solutions? So maybe you had a need to roll out a VPN solution that has a cost associated with it quickly under a time crunch early in the year, and you've taken a look at Workspace and the access control capabilities, and you think that actually is going to provide the users what they need with a more unified experience, and maybe it offsets the cost of that VPN solution you rolled out. So just a few of the different ways that we're seeing customers realize value out of the cloud version in ways that would be more difficult to accomplish with the on-prem version of the product.
Thank you, Ryan. I think, one more for you. One more question that just came about. So we've been looking at how to start with cloud for a while, but haven't pulled the trigger. What services do most customers start with?
Yeah, I think I might have inadvertently touched on this one a little bit in one of the earlier questions, but there's definitely no single right approach here in terms of where to start. Some customers, when they make the investment, they're focused on, let's say the app and desktop service or endpoint management. So they really focus their resources there and try to get that out the door as quickly as possible. And then they look at the value-added ancillary capabilities, once they've got sort of that core deliverable executed. Other customers, like they're running an on-prem environment, let's say today, that they're relatively happy with, but they want to start to realize some of the value out of the cloud investment. So they'll look at things like the WEM service or analytics, for example, that can both be hooked into or integrated with existing on-prem environments. And they'll start there as kind of a way to dip their toe in the water, start to realize some of the value, get familiar with the console, the operational considerations, and so on. And then they'll start to transition the larger service that made them execute in the first place. And then there are certainly some customers that fall into the category that some of the new capabilities of the workspace experience were must-have to them. So they start there and they point that at existing on-prem environments, for example. So more than one way to approach it, but those are a few of the more common.
Excellent. We have two more. This one I'll address to Ani. When you speak about lines of business outside of IT standing up shadow IT efforts, what do you mean?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So what I mean is, as businesses have different organizations, IT being one of them. There is manufacturing, there is, in case of retail, the physical storefronts. I mean, there are different P&Ls in the business, and each one of them is competing in the marketplace. And they have pressures, like elaborated in the presentation, that they need to compete with the competitors to either gain market share, revenue, profitability, and so on and so forth, the business goes. As they're doing that, they are needing certain things in terms of making that impact, and they need it now. So as an IT moves, and IT has a lot of other things that IT does, including looking at the current infrastructure, the investments they've made, it takes a while for that organizations to kind of put in place things in place. What we are seeing more and more, and studies have proven this out in terms of investment that these lines of businesses are making, when I say within an organization, outside of IT, to take care of their business needs right here, right now. They are going and doing stuff in the cloud themselves, using their budgets, and then catching up when IT as an IT strategy of the organization turns over. Because, like I mentioned again and again, it's no longer a nice to have. It's what the market's pushing people to do. There are organizations in very mature industries, like banking, insurance, healthcare, with the COVID situation and before that, they were seeing pressures from new entrants in the marketplace with new business models challenging their revenue streams. So they are really in an urgent need of addressing those competitive challenges, and that's what I mean by them going alone in terms of standing up and moving their efforts in terms of leveraging cloud for their business benefits in terms of the shadow IT efforts that I referred to. Thanks.
Thank you. And we have one final question. How are you hearing customer plans around their next steps for Citrix Shift in the second half of the year as compared to what people were doing in the first half? Van, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. So, I think that there are certainly some customers where, their second half of the year plan is to execute the plan that they were hoping to get through in the first half of the year when maybe they were having to deal with some unexpected dynamics. But I think overall we're seeing customers try to shift from that, reactive approach of, potentially having to deal with something unexpected that they maybe weren't staged to accommodate in terms of like the volume of work from home and work shifting that we saw, to a little bit more proactive approach in the back half of the year, with the understanding that what's coming is going to be potentially a little bit unknown. So I think those customers really fall into kind of two buckets. There are those customers that had to roll solutions out quickly under pressure, during the first half of the year, and they're looking for better mousetrap versions of those solutions. We saw a lot of remote PC, for example, in the first half of the year. There are going to be customers that are going to stick to that deployment model heading into the second half of the year, and there are others that are going to look at, is there a more favorable approach for their end user community, like a more traditional or full VDI based on what those users need to do to be productive and what hardware availability looks like, their overall public cloud posture, and so on. And then I think there's another category of customer that's maybe still doing some of that better mousetrap work, if you were, but they're also just positioning to be as agile as they can, knowing that there's going to be some unexpected. This is where I think, for example, the app and desktop service, which we've talked about a few times, really shines. So, if you look at the traditional on-prem architecture of a Citrix environment, if you need to go and stand up secondary or tertiary resource locations for scale, or because the data center that you operate out of becomes unavailable for whatever reason, there's a meaningful amount of infrastructure you have to stamp out to execute that. Whereas with the app and desktop service, it's at a high level a couple of cloud connectors and you're off and running. So I think that agile model is one that's driving a lot of customers to look at what they can do now today to position themselves to be a little bit more flexible in the back half of the year. We've also got 6 months more information than we did at the beginning of the year. So, customers, for example, that we're talking about that LTSR2 to LTSR3 migration that, we discussed a little bit earlier in the Q&A, maybe those customers are looking at, with this new automated configuration tool, is it maybe really the right time to just go to the app and desktop service instead and not do the hop to LTSR3. And then the other trend that I think we're seeing kind of across the board is customers revisiting the delivery of web and SaaS applications. So publishing Chrome and IE is still like the most common app deployed on Citrix today, and certainly there are cases where that's absolutely the right approach and completely justified. But I think we're seeing a lot of customers, take a look at the workspace experience and access control and the secure browser service and some of the flexibility that those capabilities give, and they're looking at, hey, can I take some of those published browser scenarios, free up some hardware in my data center, offset some RDS Cal license costs, and deploy those as access control apps with SSO from the workspace? Or are they better deployed out of the secure browser service so that they're not running on my hardware and we're isolating them from kind of the crown jewels in the data center from a security perspective? So that's another theme that I think we're seeing a lot of back half of the year, whether it's user experience motivated, cost motivated, or security motivated, and in some cases, all three.
Thank you. All right, so thank you for all the great questions and answers. Before we conclude, I do want to mention again that this event was recorded, and a link to the on-demand version will be sent to everyone in a follow-up email. Thank you again, and thank you for joining, and stay safe.